Okay. All right, Madam Chair, you can start us whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm going to convene this work session of the Madras Aquatic Center Recreation District Board of Directors on Wednesday, April 24th, 2024 at 6:06 p.m. In attendance, Chair Siebold is present. Vice Chair Foster Drago is absent, but hopefully will be joining shortly. Secretary Treasurer McCloskey.
Present.
Board Member Lewis is absent, and Board Member Seppa.
Present.
Oh, we didn't hear you, Jaleesa, but she unmuted to say she's here.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, you know why?
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yep,
there we
can
go.
hear you now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hi, President.
Thank you. All right, first up on the agenda for our work session is the fiscal year.
Madam Chair, if I could.
Yes. Yes.
I've invited us.
Outstanding.
So most of you probably already know Sam. Oh,
Yep,
most
sorry.
of you probably already know Sam Robinson. I had the privilege of meeting him today and he invited me up to his event conference. It was called Breaking Barriers. I was going to say boundaries, breaking barriers. And he gave a little speech up there that I would like for him to give again tonight to all y'all.
Outstanding.
Sam, if you would.
And he'll need to speak into a microphone.
Maybe you can see this one right
Gonna
here.
say.
Sam's out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I just want to say thank you, G. McCloskey, for coming to the Breaking Barriers event. And I talked a little bit about, oh man,
No pressure.
pressure. I talked a little bit today about an awesome boss of mine who has been very awesome. And how she listens to my thoughts, and how great person she is serving her community and supporting the people with disabilities. And I'm just thankful for her, and whenever I have issues, whether it be personal or work related, she listens. She is a great advocate, even within the disability community, and I'm grateful for her. And
Sam, could you tell us a little bit about the nomination?
oh yeah. Well, Courtney, I may have slightly told Courtney, but I nominated Courtney to have the Breaking Barriers Award, and wouldn't know if she would if it would be accepted or not, but she did.
Oh my gosh.
So today at this conference in front of hundreds of people, Sam got up and gave a very good speech. I can tell he's nervous tonight. He didn't appear to be nervous today at all when he gave his speech. It was very well received. And I accepted the award on your behalf.
Oh my gosh, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I don't even know what to say. This is beautiful. Thank you, Sam.
Mhm.
Can I come give you a hug? You can say no.
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
So I appreciate Sam taking the time to come this evening to give the award personally. And it was a very, very thoughtful.
Yeah.
I'd like to echo Jean and say that I completely agree with Sam, and Courtney is absolutely fantastic. We are so lucky to have her. I would also like to state that we are very lucky to have you, Sam. Both at the district and in the community. You are doing a lot of very important work. So thank you for everything that you're doing too. Oh my gosh, no, I'm getting.
I know, it's.
Sam.
You realize I was good. I think the difference was it. The emotional impact you had on me, whether I get angry, whether I raise my voice, you never had negative words to say. You were you always listened. That's what I appreciate about your character, Courtney. And I think you do well with the disability community. You had an impact on my life, but it's not just you alone. Greg, Charity, who is not with us. I'm here today because if it wasn't for Charity, I'm grateful for her. I go visit her grave site almost every other day, and
Charity, as I understood, was instrumental in getting you this position up here at the MAC.
yes, this was before Courtney got hired, but she remembered Charity well. Charity worked for Mid-Oregon Personnel. And it was through Mid-Oregon Personnel that I got the job here at the pool. But she passed away of cancer. It was like her final act.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you,
very
Sam.
much.
Oh, I'm so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The boring meeting.
It's like, but you don't have to.
Oh. I feel bad for everything that has to follow that, especially as we're
know.
talking about budget development. But first on the agenda, we do have the fiscal year second on the agenda. We now have the fiscal year 2024-25 budget development.
Okay, so the first part of the agenda is the draft organizational charts and wage scale. So in your packet, you have an email that was sent to me from Bob Kiefer. Hopefully you had a chance to look at that. He came and gave some advice. Bob Kiefer is a consultant with the Special Districts Association of Oregon, specifically a former superintendent of Willamette Park and Rec District and a board member for Sisters Park and Rec District. And so we get a certain number of free hours of consulting, and we took advantage. He took a look at our org charts that we were thinking about for whether the measures that are on the ballot pass or do not pass. And then he also looked at sort of what our vision org chart was, and we made a number of tweaks as a result of his thoughts and his recommendations. So that's in the packet for you to take a look at. The second piece is the board had requested some more information about the positions that are proposed. And if it's okay with the board, I just want to take a minute and walk through this a little bit. So currently we have around 11 FTE at the district, between 25 and 30 employees, depending on the time of year. And essentially all but 2 of those people report to Shauna. So that's a lot of people to manage. What we're proposing is, in order to create a more robust supervisory management structure, that we would add some mid-level management level folks who can help supervise employees, which will help us get better at what we do. Because when you're supervising 30 people, it's hard to provide corrective action. You'd be doing corrective action conversations all day. Especially when you work with the wonderful teenagers that we have here at the Aquatic Center.
I'm gonna ask for clarification.
Yes.
We have 11 FTEs, but they just say 30 people, so that is.
That is all of the people. So the 11 FTE are all of the staff. So that's the number of bodies. So we have 11.7 FTE. So that's 2,080 hours per FTE. And those hours are shared by all of those different 30 people. Does that make sense? So we do have some positions that are 1 FTE, like I'm 1 FTE, Shauna is 1, but most of our staff are a 0.2 or a 0.4 or something like that.
But right now we have 30 staff, 30.
Between 25 and 30. Right now, because we're in season for flag football, we're closer to 30. When we're out of season for flag football, we go down to 23, 24, but then we'll be in season for summer and we'll have all the hopefully new lifeguards that we're going to certify. So it's a seasonal fluctuation, usually between 23 to 30. In the proposed new org chart, what it does is it gives us close to 9 people who can open and close the facility. Right now we have 3. So with not only adding those mid-level supervisors, but also creating some tiers within our head lifeguard positions, it gives us some more flexibility about having adults in the building at all times. And it will allow us to expand our hours pretty significantly with adding those positions. On this sheet, it also has kind of a little narrative on the core function of each position based on the job descriptions. And so you can see in the column next to it, the current positions that are performing those functions. So a lot of what we do is on our recreation director's shoulders, and it'd be nice to have 2 or 3 supervisors and some coordinators that are taking some of that off so that our recreation director can be focused on partnering with COCC on bringing adult education courses here and trying to get swimming happening in the pool with COCC student. Like those kinds of external partnerships aren't happening at a program level or at an administrative level because I don't have the time to do it either. So this will give us a little bit more flexibility to be out of the building to do some of that partner building. And like I said, it'll give us, I think, better, I don't want to say control because that's the wrong word, but better influence on our staff as they're developing in their first job. It's important for them to have supervisors that have the time and the energy to devote to that and not be pulled in 40 different directions. Are there any questions about this?
So when you list somebody as a coordinator, they will have supervisory authority as well?
They will not have supervisory authority. So only supervisors and above will be official supervisors, but they can be site coordinators. So that means they could be off-site and be the person in charge, but they're not actually supervising, if that makes sense. Correct. But if
Like
there's,
that would be like out of the sports, how there's always the person there for the coordinator. That's like an example of that.
yes,
They're overseeing that activity like that at the field, but they're not.
they're like the point of
supporting it.
contact if something goes
Yeah.
south or if something great happens.
Yeah, or more for. Like a point person for the people participating in that activity.
Yes. Yep.
So in essence, your proposal would be 6 positions that have supervisory authority over a staff level of 25 to 30.
Yes. Yep. And when you look at the org charts, and we changed this a little bit to try and make it more clear. So first we have our current org chart. Yeah, you're good. I was gonna say, we have an extra board packet too, if you want to take a look at that. And it'll all be in your budget too when the time comes, but so the first org chart is our current one, and I made it look just like the other ones so that you were comparing apples to apples. And you can see there's a whole tier that we're missing in terms of support. And our current org chart will change in 2 different ways. If the measures do not pass, then we are proposing cutting 25% of our staff because we're going to have to reduce hours as well by about 25%. And so this is even, I think, a bit more dire than what we would like. To me, it's an interim fix until we can figure out a bigger solution. So I've started conversations with the county administrator, the school district superintendent, and the city administrator about if the measures do not pass, we may have to look at entering into IGAs with them, one of them, to be the backbone support so that you don't need an executive director. And you can have a recreation director within the city or the county or the school district. Who then
Say that
has,
again, Courtney, you're saying that the executive director position goes away in that,
correct.
if it doesn't, okay.
And then you have a recreation director who's almost like a department head to some extent for whatever entity brings them in. And then,
That's external of MACRD,
yes,
being the recreation.
so it's almost like it's like how the board at one point had Mid-Oregon personnel providing all the
It's like
HR services. It's like outsourcing all of the backbone stuff. And then the employees would become employees of that organization. I can tell you, all three of those organizations are not excited about that potential. But I think it has to be on the table. Other options are closing down the pool, and running recreation programs on land base only. Really heavily reducing hours beyond what we're already thinking about, but we're buying ourselves a year with this proposed org chart that will be part of the proposed budget if the ballot measures do not pass.
I believe another option we have to consider. Not closing down the pool. Taking those rec programs and sending them back to the Kiwanis and those other clubs, because it was a pool that was built first. It's cart before the horse.
So we talked about that. We can't afford it. The pool would have to close. So that's really not a viable option.
The pool.
Yeah. It's just not. I think we would be clear. I would bring you the financial analyses so you could see it. I mean, I wouldn't just say, trust me, it doesn't work, but when the time comes, these will be some of the things that the board will consider. But in the meantime, we'll do this reduction budget to buy us that year to kind of figure it out, because it's not a sustainable solution. If one thing breaks, we'll be closing down anyway. So that's the do not pass budget. Now, if the measures pass, this is the org chart that we're going to be presenting in the budget, in the measures pass budget. And let me be clear, we have two budgets we're presenting to the budget committee. One is if the measures pass. So I have to be very careful. I can't use words like fail because it has negative connotation. So I'm sorry. I'm just trying to follow the rules. So if the measures pass, what you see is we've added one new aquatics operations supervisor position. For us, we feel like that's the most critical position to add. And then we've also added back in a halftime maintenance coordinator position and about 0.5 FTE to trying to think if it's patron services or program staff. I can't remember, but we added about 1.3 FTE back in with this first budget. If the measures pass, we feel as though we can add one FTE, one new full-time person the first year and the second year. Because then the loans that we took out from the county will be paid off after that second year. And then the third year we'll really ramp up hopefully and be able to staff, having the pool hours be 50% more than they are right now. But those are the three org charts that we're presenting to you tonight, plus the one that you've seen before, which is the vision to be implemented over that 3-year period if the measures pass, with the full complement of supervisors, coordinators, and site leads, as well as an administrative services supervisor. Because I love doing all of the admin work. And I might actually, when the time comes, apply for that admin supervisor position and let y'all hire an executive director who's better at the outside stuff. I'm better at the inside stuff. But it provides some additional resource to that backbone. Because as we grow, it's not sustainable for your executive director to be HR, finance, front desk supervisor, all the things.
So like not normal for any other time of how this existed.
No, and I think it's been,
Not that it was like always
I think,
worked well in the other ways, but I'm
Right.
just saying like
It's been good
It's
because,
also taxing, like it also requires that certain skill set.
yes, and it's,
For that future executive director.
I'll tell you what, for me, it's helped me understand our situation so much
Mhm.
better being in the details. Particularly from a financial perspective. But it's not typical for someone at that director level to be able to do the day-to-day
Yeah.
stuff like that. So any questions about the org charts before I move us to the wage scale that goes along with it?
I do kind of, I think to what Jean was asking. Okay, so my question on this is this really helped, by the way. I think
Good.
I was the one who asked that, and this really helped to me to see it. I was just curious on both of I guess mainly on the path.
Okay.
Version, what is like the support ratio? Is that like, this is where I'm trying to see like how you do this org chart. Is this like a 1-to-5 ratio? Is this deputy director 1, 2, 3, 4, these 5 team members that are right under it?
Yes, so the deputy,
Anyone that's under that line?
yes, so everyone under that aquatics operations supervisor will report up to the aquatics operations supervisor. All of the boxes you see to the right of it, all those coordinators report up to the recreation director. So, I mean, if we had the money, we would post all those positions immediately, but we have to phase it in. Because we're still having our deputy director supervise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 FTE. Which is still 20 people. When you look at bodies, but
Yeah, that's the part that I think is slightly confusing on that, is just that it's. Again, I just am not used to the FTE
Yeah.
instead of saying people.
How many people?
And like a more of like I know we have a target of like a 1-to-5 ratio.
that's our goal is 5 to 7 is a good span of
Yeah,
control.
of
That's our
for
goal.
Actual people supporting, and I think that's what maybe also Jean was getting at on that part. I think
Yeah.
it's the same, because reading it as FTEs, it's hard for me to see how many people, and is that supporting, and is it under the 5, over the 5?
It's over the 5 for
Under
the
this path.
first couple years, yes. But recognizing we're taking steps toward it not being like that. So best practice for Park and Rec is 5 to 7 span of control for
I
supervisory.
think it really isn't anywhere.
I think it makes sense, yeah.
But like when we transitioned to it, it was a lot of places like 1 to 20 or even 1 to 10. And it's not perfect in all areas, like not everywhere is 1 to 5. Sometimes it's under the 5, or sometimes because of experience or
Right.
education or position or whatever, it's not the same. But when you shift to that 1 to 5, it really, I think, changes but it adds in layers. So I think
Yes.
people see, but it allows people to also be better supported and focus on the things that are.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to do on this list. I was just curious what the number was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Other questions?
It kind of looked top heavy. More supervisors than what we have staff to be supervised.
Oh, that is not the case.
Yeah.
Let me think about how we can present FTE versus bodies.
But it does kind of come across that,
Yeah.
and that's why. Or maybe even if you put what it is in ratio to people.
Yeah.
At each, even like if you just list each position and put 1 to 7, like on any of the leadership positions, how many people that person's supporting.
Yeah.
Cause this obviously doesn't represent people, so maybe on just the supervisory, how many people are those people directly supporting? For all,
Well,
I don't know. I think
It's so hard to that's why we use the FTE, because it's the 2,080 hours.
Mhm.
It's just hard to quantify, because we might have, like right now, we've got 3 guards that are working 30 to 40 hours a week. And so they're 1 FTE. But if that 1 guard leaves, we might replace them with 6 guards.
Yeah.
Who are each working
Yeah,
5 hours a
that's
week.
it.
So that's why it's hard. Full-time equivalent is what it means. Okay,
Mhm. I
Anytime
think
I
that
was
is
doing my
confusing.
grants to the.
I need to
state of
make that
Oregon,
clear.
they definitely don't put an FTE.
okay.
So that's
I've not
how
heard it
much
called
these
that.
total for me. match up. And that's why, look, and supervisory.
Got it.
We've got all these supervisors that only.
Which is what I saw.
I will figure out how to amend the org chart to better reflect the number of people.
Or maybe if you just make an explanation of that, so when the public gets on the website and they're reviewing these documents, they don't look at 15.0, meaning the full-time employees, that truthfully, we would have.
15.0, comma, 25
FTE
staff.
equals FTE equals this.
Yeah.
With an explanation.
Okay, I can do that.
Calculate with number of hours. You could also show how that it could be one lifeguard doing this much, or it could be 5 doing like. Some kind of like disclaimer, because I think that also reads like that.
Okay.
In my world, FTE is full-time exempt too, so something totally different.
And I thought it was a full-time employee, kind of like these hours count.
That it was an
That it-
equivalent,
I
yeah.
also thought the Same, but
Okay.
I also think it reads like it's really, especially on this sheet, like it's adding all these supervisory positions to someone who doesn't know how it's
Yeah,
happening up here, how many people work here.
we'll fix it. That's great feedback. That's helpful. Other questions?
No, I just also like the core function
Yeah.
explanation is really good. That's it.
Okay. Next you have the employee wage scale. And we presented to you at the last work session, a comparison of the current wages and what we were proposing. There's really only a couple positions that are changing their start and top of scale. We did bump up the top of scale for most positions. And we've added in all of the positions that are listed in the if the budget passes scenario, because if the measures pass scenario, because whether it passes or not, we are moving to these positions and these titles. So Shauna's been working on pulling job descriptions from a variety of different agencies. And we're kind of pulling them into what we want to see for each of the positions. So regardless, if the measures do not pass, we will be laying staff off and inviting them to apply for a position that's equivalent. Or if there's a position that is a lateral move for them, we'll talk with them about just making the lateral move. But anybody that's going to be looking at doing a position that's a step up from what they're currently doing, we're going to open a recruitment for anyone. Any questions about that? There were no questions at the work session. Everybody seemed okay with the wage scale, so we just left it as it was. Okay. So next is a very large capital plan because it's more than 5 years. So we've changed the name of this to the capital improvements list because we wanted to be real transparent about what it looks like over the coming years for all of the different upgrades and updates that are going to need to happen throughout the building. And so what you see is and I hope, I'm sorry, it's so small for everyone. Hopefully I printed out a larger copy for those of you that are here in person. We've tried to categorize these updates by where they're located or, how they're impactful. So you've got the pump room at the top. You can see in the middle of this sheet where we've got our adopted budget for 23-24 and then the amended budget, because we did have to make some changes based on needs that came up. And then you have a column for measures DNP, which is do not pass, and measures pass. So we have two different options for when this comes to the budget committee. After that, you've got another 5 years of proposed improvements, and this is just based on talking with a number of different contractors. We've tried to get good estimates. Some of them are ballpark estimates. Some of them are true estimates of what they said it would be. For any estimates that we received this year, we put a 15% increase on them for each year as we move out into the 5 years. So if it's in the 2930 column at the very right-hand side, HVAC system motor replacement, we thought it would be 250,000 if we did that in the next couple of years. So we put it in for 300,000, however many years from now, because we don't know what we don't know what any of that stuff's going to do.
You raised a hand.
Jaleesa, did you have a question?
Yeah, I think I might have missed it, but where can you show me with your mouse where the DNP? Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I
Sorry.
was looking all over for it. Okay, I see it. Thank
No,
you.
you're good. It's right here in that middle part, yep. And in the budget document, we've got DNP and pass listed all over the places. This is what these things mean. Let's see what else. As you can, and the other thing I want to say is everything that's in that 2029 to 2030 column is probably not going to happen in 2930. We know that they might, but it's going to happen eventually. And so we wanted to have a good number for what our total capital improvement list is. And so as you go down, you can see that in 1920, we invested $10,000. And as you go to your right, the number just keeps on growing.
Yeah.
And what we tried to do is figure out what's the total capital investment that's needed to maintain the facility. And what we came to is about $5 million. And that includes the 1.5 million to redo the locker rooms. The original estimate 4 or 5 years ago was 720,000 for the locker, or 620,000 for the locker rooms. And it's just, when we talked with BRS architects, they gathered all that information and they figure it's about 1.2. So I'm adding a little bit more on just to be safe, because I think there's going to have to be more done in there than what they're thinking. So 5 million over the next 5 years, $1 million a year. If the measures pass, we can get a line of credit or some sort of financing mechanism and fund this whole capital plan over the life of the district. We'll be able to fund this whole capital plan. And actually, once we catch up on all this deferred maintenance, not only are we going to be able to fund what needs to happen for not deferring maintenance, but we're going to probably be able to set aside quite a bit of funds so that if we need to build on a classroom or we want to build on a fitness room or something like that, we won't need to bond for it. We'll actually be able to fund it ourselves. So I, from day one, said, I think the $1.24 per thousand that we've proposed for these measures is sufficient, that we won't need to go out and do a bond unless the district at some point says, well, we want to build fill in the blank and it's a 19 or $20 million project. That's a different situation. But in terms of maintaining the MAC facility, this puts us in a good path for sustainability for all the years to come, as far as we can tell, based on what we know. Are there any questions about any of that? Is there anything that you're surprised by or that you don't see on here that you expected to see?
So within this is a specific layout of projects, but when you are looking at the go forward amount with the $1.24, are you building in your head, like every year we need to set aside X for capital?
Yes.
So is it based on this, or is it a percentage of revenue? How are you?
So best practice is that you set aside 4% of your earned revenue for future needs. And so we can fund the capital plan and set aside 3 to 5% every year.
Okay.
Once we catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the plan. And the goal too is to have the board adopt a financial policy document that will give direction on what contingencies should be budgeted at, what any fund balance should be, all those things, so that we've got a range that we're aiming for.
Your budget all year. We're trying to meet those targets.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
I love this table, Courtney. I love having future and past all in one. I think it's really easy to read and really helps tell the story. For the shape we're in.
I do think too that here you should have a cumulative, because I think that people need to know that there has been money spent on capital improvements.
Yes.
It's not like that hasn't happened, it's just, it's not everything.
Any other questions on the capital plan, Jaleesa? Did you have any questions? Madam Chair, do you want me to just keep trucking?
Please.
Okay, so next I wanted the board to be aware that we are keeping track of all the policies that need to be updated. And normally what we do is at this work session, we bring you any policies that need to be updated. But we decided not to update them twice.
Yeah.
So what I have for you is a table of all of our policies and what happens to them if the measures pass or if the measures do not pass. And the plan is to bring this package of policies to this board if the measures do not pass, to bring any of these proposed changes at the July board meeting. If the measures pass, then we will bring a package of policies to the new board when they have their first meeting in July. So it starts with the bylaws. There may be a few housekeeping changes, but I don't expect to see it. Like, for example, it still says the first Monday or the second Monday or whatever we were meeting before. So I kind of want to make some changes that gives the board some flexibility that we don't have to update the bylaws every time a meeting date changes. I am in the process of developing a board duties and responsibilities policy that is a best practice of SDAO, and it's part of their best practice expectations for the year I don't know if it's for liability savings or if it's just something we're supposed to be doing this year, but I'm in the process of developing that, so that'll be a new policy. Our employee handbook does have some legislative updates based on the short session that happened. And then we also just have some housekeeping changes that we'd like to propose. We're not going to propose any changes to the senior military discounts. If the measures pass, we do want to add a family membership back into that membership policy. And we do have some housekeeping changes that we'll propose that don't substantively change it if the measures do not pass. And then there's a whole list of policies that we're not proposing any changes to at this point, regardless of the election outcome. So we've got facility rentals, scholarships, the patron rules and regulations, lockers, heat illness prevention, IT acceptable use, and bloodborne pathogens. All of those will keep the same. Cost recovery, we're going to want to look at regardless of the outcome, but we're going to be able to afford to hire a consultant if the measures pass, to have someone actually do a really thorough, robust evaluation of our cost recovery approach. If the measures do not pass, you're going to get what everyone uses, which is the triangle that I've brought to you before. All the different park and rec districts use it. And it's because Willamette Lane started it 20 years ago or something, and now everybody uses it. We may end up with that anyway if we work with a consultant, but we're going to have to look at our cost recovery because our current policy is not being met and it has never been met. And so something needs to change with that. There's no changes to public procurement that we're aware of at this time, but there may be. I'm waiting to hear back from our attorneys, but I'm also trying not to use them too much right now beyond the election stuff. And then we don't foresee any changes with the inclement weather policy. Any questions on any of those? No, thank you. I stole it from an old one. Thank you.
I think it seems like we just finished up with all those policy changes.
Yep.
Doesn't it? I think so too.
Well, and part of it is we try and look at it every year so we can update them if they need updating. So that's good. You should feel like you're looking at them all the time.
But again, you're saying this is, so that part's right, that this is gonna be for July.
Yes. Yes, these will happen in July. I can't spell depending either. You can see that I'm not doing the best job here, guys. I'm sorry. So the next policy, which is a new proposed policy, is a registration policy. And Shauna and I were stealing things from other park and rec districts because we added 4 pages to our summer guide. And so we thought, well, let's put some of our registration policies, and we don't have anything really written or adopted by the board. So we wanted to make sure we had that. So as you go through this policy, I'm going to go down to kind of the bulk of things. We're going to offer registration in person, online, and over the telephone. All registration options require payment at the time of registration. Now, I have the authority to make exceptions to that. For example, we allowed payment plans for club volleyball because club sports are so expensive. So we let people make payments over 3 months. We want to be very intentional when we do that because payment plans have gotten this district in trouble in the past. And so we don't want it to be something we can do for everything. But it is for targeted things. And then as you keep going, patrons with account balances will be required to pay off their balance due prior to registering for something new. That's a practice we've always had, but it's not in writing anywhere. And then we also added some language about wait lists, which is something that we've had to use more recently. We don't charge at the time that someone gets put on a wait list. They only get charged for the fee if they get added to the activity itself. Refunds and cancellations and transfers. So all refunds are assessed that 6% active net processing fee. Account credits are not charged that fee. And then we wanted to be clear that we have two different types of activities. We have pre-registration required activities. So those are the things like our sports leagues. We have a couple of special events that are pre-registration required. If you decide that you want to refund, transfer, or get account credit 15 days or more before registration closes, you get 100% back in whatever way you want it. If it's 7 to 14 days, then it's a 50% refund. And if it's anything less than 6 days, there's no refund. Part of the reason for that is we are already creating teams, ordering t-shirts, like spending money, ordering equipment if we need it. And so if we're refunding a bunch of money right before we close registration or after, it does impact the bottom line of that particular program. This is the exact same refund policy that Bend has. We stole their language. And then for drop-in activities, if someone comes in to use the hot tub and they pay their drop-in and then they walk in and realize the hot tub is closed, they haven't done the activity yet, we're going to give them a refund. Yeah. But if they've gone and swam for an hour and then they come out, they're like, your pool's too cold, I want a refund, we're not going to give them a refund. Does that make sense? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then responsibilities and exceptions. Essentially, you're giving the executive director the authority to grant exceptions on an as-needed situational basis. So we've had situations where a kiddo breaks his arm 2 days before flag football starts. We're going to give them a refund. So
Yeah.
it gives some authority for that. That is the registration policy. Are there any questions? It'll be really nice to have it in writing, board approved, because right now it's not most of these things. Keep going. Jeez. All right. So as we've been preparing the budget, we identified, a couple things. I learned something new this year through our audit process. Because of how we've been adopting our budget by department, when we look at whether or not we've overspent our budget authority, we're supposed to look at it by department. And I've always looked at it by category: personnel, materials and services, capital. Well, it doesn't matter because how we adopt it is, so we were over budget. We overspent our budget authority last year by like $50 in facilities, because when you added personnel and materials and services together, but I wasn't tracking it that way. So I learned that. And so as I was looking at our budget, I realized we were going to be over in administration because of all of these fees for attorneys that were not originally budgeted. And so what we're proposing tonight is that we transfer budget authority from capital outlay to administration. Originally, you had transferred additional funds to capital outlay because we were going to replace the domestic water heater. That ducky just keeps trucking. So, there are days it works and there's days it doesn't. And our patrons, our regulars, are used to it. And they've been very kind about us saying to them, we're waiting until next fiscal year to do it because of all of these expenses we didn't expect.
So it continues to trip and you're resetting.
A lot.
Yeah.
But some days we don't have to reset it at all. I don't know. It's become part of our process to walk back to that boiler room and check it multiple times throughout the day just to make sure. But we just hope she just keeps on working for a little bit longer. And so the reason, like I said, we're transferring that budget authority is we budgeted, I think 10 or 15,000 in legal. Actually, I might have it next. I do. Not have the detail. We budgeted about 15,000 in legal, and right now we're estimating to end paying about 35,000. And so that's what that 20,000 is. I left us about a $5,000 gap. hoping that we don't spend it. So, any questions about the transfer of budget authority resolution? That will be our 4th budget adjustment this year for the record. All of those budget adjustments are on our website. So if anyone's curious about those, they can look. Keep going?
Keep going.
All right, it's a lot. Let me take a. Okay, so reviewing partner agreements, our agreement with the Madras swim team, their facility use agreement. It's in your packet. I did get a request from a board member to provide some analysis around the fees for MST and just some information about our partnership activities. And so that's in your packet. Essentially, the board made the decision at the last board meeting to keep fees the same for the summer because we have to adopt them now before we go into for budget preparation and then also for doing our guide. And so part of that is keeping MST's rate at that $11 per lane per hour through the summer. And I did let them know that the board would be reevaluating fees regardless of the election outcome sometime this summer, and that I would let them know when that meeting is happening. What you have here in this analysis is the total costs associated with MST facility use. For 21-22, they were not charged this. This was just us tracking it based on the usage. 22-23, same thing, not charged. And then 23-24 is this is the first year that we've been charging them for usage. And what I would say is they've been very strategic about how many lanes they're using for how long, for what levels of lessons, so that's brought that cost down pretty substantially. And so this year it's about $8,700 that they'll be paying for all 4 seasons for the full year. I think it's important for the board to be aware that with that rate, the district is subsidizing them by a lot. As we move forward, if the measures pass, we can probably afford to subsidize them because we have more property taxes subsidy. But if the measures do not pass, I think we're going to have a conversation around the rates, both for them and for the school district. And they're both aware of that. So I want to be very transparent about that. And then there's a whole list of partnership activities that we try and do with MST. So all of our ad sales for the scoreboard, 50% of the revenues go to MST. 40% of the revenues come to us and 10% go to the school district, because that is the allocation of expenses that each of those organizations took on for that scoreboard. We've sold $4,000 worth of ads this year. So that's the scoreboard ad sales. They get free facility use for 1 swim meet per season, which they have not yet used. And then they get to use the community rooms at no charge. And when they cancel a practice with 24 hours notice, we do refund their account. So instead of them having to pay for it, whether they use it or not, we're giving them a 24-hour cancellation.
When they cancel, who would utilize those things?
The public. Yeah, so if they're not here, then the public can use them. And then promotion and marketing, free inclusion in our school, on our guides, it's about a $500 value. We have a number of partners who are paying for guide space this year. The library,
Best Care.
OCDC, quite a few folks are paying for being in our guide. Free advertising on the scoreboard, which those same organizations are all paying for, as well as there's a dental office and a couple others that are doing that. When kiddos complete their last level of lessons with us, we give them a certificate that says, hey, you're ready for swim team, with information on how to get in contact with them to hopefully help create that pipeline for kids. And then co-programming to encourage swimmers. So they're doing practice when we're having swim lessons, and hopefully kids are looking at that and saying, oh, I want to do that someday. So those are all the things that are happening with the agreement that we have with MST. And then I just want to walk you through the changes. So we currently have a facility use agreement. There are a few changes, and I want to be clear again and transparent, represent what they shared with me about some of their concerns. So we did change the language around payment that per the direction of the board, they'll be charged that rate for the summer season, and then it'll be evaluated after that. And then if you continue to go down, the piece that they were concerned about is changing this language in 3.1 to say they will have exclusive access of up to 3 lanes. They did not like the inclusion of the words of up to. And I told them that wouldn't they rather have the flexibility to
Yeah.
pay for 1 lane instead of 3, and that it really just creates flexibility for both of us. And I felt like I was trying to say you can't have 3 lanes, and that is not what I was saying. So they're still planning to sign it if we leave that language in, but I wanted you to be aware that that was a concern that they shared. I've also added language that they need to submit their request in writing at least 30 days ahead of time, so we can avoid what happened with spring season, which is me reaching out to them a week beforehand and saying, when are you practicing?
Yeah.
So this will give us some, I mean, it's not like we're gonna say, sorry, you didn't get it to us within 30 days, but I'd like to be able to point to our agreement, if that happens again. And then we've taken out specific season dates, because it doesn't really need to, we don't care, we just need to know what their season is when they're practicing. And then we've taken out any details around when practices will not be held, because we'll just let them know the building's closed on those days. And those are the only changes besides making Deanna the board chair at the end. Any questions on any of that? Oh, and making Amber the president now instead of Bud.
I have no questions, but I want to thank you. I think it's important for us to have the information on the opportunity costs, especially as we're looking at our financials with the ballot measures, and then I'm looking into a new agreement, so.
You're looking to,
Yeah, just this guy.
oh, that,
Yeah.
just that.
Yeah.
Jaleesa, any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, on this. I guess maybe it's not, it's just more of a curiosity thing. I was just. Have they shared like what their count? If they're paying the amount, then I guess it doesn't really matter because it's not. Swimmers. It's this fixed amount, not per swimmer, so I was just.
Right.
Curious.
Right. All right, it's agreement time tonight. So the next agreement is our intergovernmental agreement with the 509J Jefferson County School District. Their board did approve it on a 3-0 vote, because one was absent and one abstained at their last board meeting. So no substantive changes here at all. I did have a conversation with the superintendent that the athletic director has requested 4 full-day swim meets for next swim season, plus we're hosting districts. So based on our fee schedule, we're looking at about $10,000 more than this year for their use of the facility. And I did encourage him to have a conversation with them about charging at the door and doing some things to help recover some of those costs, because the costs are what they are, but they don't do some of those things that they could be doing to recover.
Like they charge at the door to go to a basketball game,
Mhm.
they should charge at the door to the spectators to come.
Especially at districts, because
Yeah.
districts is 2 days, it's expensive.
So great, they're gonna be.
Yes. I will tell you, I visited Malala Pool, which is one of the other district hosting pools. There's 3 pools that host districts for our special district of swimming for high school. It's Malala, us, and LeGrand. We haven't been to LeGrand Pool yet. It's on our bucket list, but I did get to go to Malala, and I I don't want to say anything disparaging about other facilities because I think we all do the best we can with what we have. But I can understand we have so much more deck space for spectators. They have a 6-lane pool with a deck around it. And it's in a brick building. And so when I think about how many spectators we can fit in here versus there, I understand why. And the senior that was guarding at that moment said, "Oh, I can't wait to come to your pool." He was really excited to have his senior year districts here. So
Like that.
I just wanted to share that. I
Yeah.
think that was fun. I went on a Saturday at 3:45 and there were 2 people swimming and 2 lifeguards on duty. And then I called to ask Peyton how it was going here and she said, "Well, we're full." So we had 120 or 100 and something and 5 lifeguards and a supervisor and a front desk person.
And 2 deck
So-
attendants.
And 2 deck attendants. So anyway, it's validating to visit other facilities, I think, sometimes for the,
Compare like our facility to theirs. This is what brings it's the pool on this side, more of the big pool, which is all they have,
yes,
yeah.
yes. They do like to have the warm up and the cool down pool after they're done doing their races. I think that is all of my items on the work session. I'm trying to get back to the agenda.
Except for capital improvements and other maintenance.
I, at this time, have nothing to report, except I will share, we are looking at having the blocks, gosh, my mind just went blank. The diving blocks refurbished. So we've reached out to a local company out of Bend that does sandblasting powder coating. They have done blocks before in Bend, so they had all of the knowledge of what needed to happen with chlorine and heat and all the things. So the bases get done locally and then we ship the tops of it off to a company. So our goal is to try not to impact summer MST practices, but we've got to send all 6 at the same time. And so we're waiting to hear back on the timeline for the tops. For the bases, they were hoping we could deliver them to Bend June 3rd, which means they would be gone 5 to 7 weeks and it would impact MST for their summer practices. We're also looking at doing the diving board base and the diving board and the rope swing, because the rope swing platform is starting to get slick. And so we want them all powder coated the same to look nice if we're gonna do it.
Yep.
The estimate's about, I wanna say like $4,000 or $5,000. And because we're hosting districts and all those swim meets, we felt like we could afford to do that out of our maintenance budget. So that's something that we're working on to spruce it up.
Pass or fail, it's in the.
That's pass or fail, it's in the budget. Yep. That's I did have a maintenance update. So now I'll pass it on to board members for the Friends of the MACRD PAC updates.
Okay, so in case anyone's not aware, Election Day is May 21st. I believe Janelle does have extra yard signs if anyone can accommodate them at their area or know anyone who might be willing to host. We have several events that could always use extra bodies coming up, coffee cuppers. I don't believe we have Kiwanis or Rotary booked for a PAC visit yet. Courtney and I visited the senior center last week. We've got Bean Foundation Board of Directors meeting next week. I'll step on Melissa and give the update on financials.
Sure.
Okay, we currently have $950 donated by O&J Madras Sanitary, the Hoyts, the Nielsen's, Glennis Fellas, the Nelsons, and the Irvings. So any donations would be gladly accepted. Those can be sent to Friends of the MACRD, care of Melissa. Melissa, can I put you on the spot? Is there anything that you?
No, I never got the final estimate for what the mailers. So I don't know
Okay.
how much more work we need.
6,000.
Good luck.
Yeah.
How much is it gonna cost for those? I saw Janelle's email on it, on like the
Yeah.
content, but I didn't ever see the price. Can someone else make those for cheaper?
That includes like making it out.
That's buying the list and
Okay.
doing all the
Alright.
things.
Okay.
Otherwise, we could get all of this together. The list.
Oh, one other thing, we do have the open house next Wednesday. Next Thursday from 4 to 6 prior to the budget meeting, and I don't believe that chamber is collecting any RSVPs, so we'll just hopefully get folks.
Yeah.
Yes, and I believe that's already been noticed, so all board members can attend together.
Yep. And we're hosting coffee cuppers on May 10th.
Yeah.
So back on that. You know, the school district allows flyers to be passed out to all the students to take home in their little backpacks.
Not anymore. I
Not
think that
anymore.
got nixed 2 years ago, last year.
Lisa has a
Sending
question.
them out as full thing.
Jaleesa, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna see if I can get some flyers printed of the open house and I can pick them up and I can hang some down in Warm Springs.
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
Anything else there? Any questions? All right. Then we will adjourn the work session at 7:07 and convene the business meeting at 7:07.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
So we'll do attendance again. Chair Siebold is present. Vice Chair Foster Trego. Present. Secretary Treasurer McCloskey.
Present.
Board Member Lewis is absent, and Board Member Seppa.
Present.
Thank you, Jaleesa. Okay, first up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. In Central Oregon, we are standing on the ancestral lands of the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Paiute people. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Okay, next up is the adoption of the agenda. We do have a request for a last-minute addition to the agenda, looking to consider approval of an agreement with Jefferson County for a tax anticipation loan in the event that May 2024 ballot measures do not pass, as new number 15 on the agenda. Would anyone like to so move? I will so move. Thank you, and Gina second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, Jaleesa. Any opposed? Correspondence.
Okay. We have quite a bit of correspondence today. So first, on Google reviews, we did have 2 new reviews, no comments, but 5 stars over the last month. And I think both of those were after Open Swims on a Saturday. In terms of Facebook insights, we have 24 new page likes and 29 new followers over the last month.
Nice.
And no one unfollowed us. So I feel like that's a win. Lots of photo views, reactions. I think our staff is doing a really great job managing social media, considering it's about a 5th of their 15th, a 50th, like not a huge part of their job. And they're balancing that with answering phones and helping people at the front desk. So kudos to the team on social media. We did receive a request from the city of Metolius to sponsor annual Spike and Rail Day. Usually what I do is I do donate a 20 punch pass for them to auction off or use as part of the festivities. So we'll do that again as we have in the past. Wanted you to be aware that Norco says that they are increasing gas prices effective May 1st and will vary based on market specific conditions, which scares me.
Yes.
I will tell you that our bill this last month was about triple what it was last year. So I'm kind of nervous about, because they raised rates between last year and this year twice, I think already. So this is the third increase, I think, in the last year. So just wanted you to be aware. Got our membership renewed with SDAO and am including in the packet just the little membership overview we got from them about the benefits of being part of SDAO.
You have an alternate supplier on that?
Nope. Norco's the only one who does the CO2 that I'm aware of. Yeah, if you've got ideas, let me know, please. They lease us, we pay to use the tanks that we have. So they're not ours, they're theirs. So that's part of our agreement with them. So you can see here all the benefits of being part of SDAO. I've also included an email communication from Debbie Taylor, the new chamber director. They've done some work to take all of their 17 memberships options down to 5 membership options. And historically we've been, and I'm going to take you to this next page, a bronze member. And so we've continued at that level for this upcoming year. And so just wanted you to be aware of that and the work that the good work I think Debbie's doing for the chamber. You're already aware of this, but I did include in the packet the flyer that needs to be handed to Abby's if you choose to participate in this particular fundraiser. Sunday from 4 to 8 p.m. If you bring this flyer in, then a portion of the proceeds will go to our tackle football program.
And you have to have the flyer. You can't just tell them.
Yep, you got to have the flyer.
Okay.
The parents are planning to be at the football games on Saturday, the flag football games, to hand out these flyers, sell donuts, and hopefully get people excited. We've got a very motivated parent booster group
Yes.
this year, which is cool. Oh, and they're selling, they're going to be selling shirts as well for the season with you can get the name and the number of your child or for your sibling.
They are available on our website. Go to U Sports under tackle football.
Good job, Sean. And that is all of our correspondence.
Excellent. Okay, next up, we have the visitor section public comment, wherein members of the public are welcome to speak to the board of directors during this time. They should sign in at the beginning of the meeting to be recognized by the board chair. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes.
Does anyone on Zoom? Well, Greg, do you want to talk? Do you want to speak for visitor section? Oh, he doesn't have
No,
a
his
speaker.
microphone's broken, I think.
Oh, no.
If you have anything you'd like to share, you can put it in chat.
Okay, and I've confirmed we have nothing additional in the room. So Greg, if you have anything you want to put in there, just plug it in and we can come back if you're typing. All right, next up, we have the financial reports.
Okay, so what you have in front of you is the balance sheet first for the month of March. And there's some notes on here. I just want to point out that our total operating cash is only down 24,300 over last year, which I see is good, because it should be down much more than that, given how much we've put out for capital that we were not expecting. Our accounts receivable is down because we've given out a lot less scholarship funds this year. We used to give up to $250 per fiscal year per family, per kid, or per recipient. I shouldn't say kid because we do give out adult scholarships. This year, we've reduced it to $100 per recipient, just because of the lack of funds at the time that the MAC Trust had. And so if the ballot measures pass, then we will be part of our budget conversation will be around setting aside some matching funds out of the general fund to help support scholarships. So hopefully we can bump that back up to 250 per recipient. Concessions is down quite a bit. We're keeping less on hand. That's the answer for that. There's really nothing else to say about it. I will say down below, Jean did catch that Courtney had transposed some numbers on punch cards. So this balance sheet is updated in the QuickBooks system to reflect that it should have been 8352 instead of 8532. So kudos to our treasurer for finding that. And a couple, and I'll let you give your report once I get through this one. Payroll liabilities are down 6%. Accrued vacation is down 5.5%. Part of that is we've actually had staff taking vacations and getting out of the office a little bit. So that's been good.
Good.
And then our 509J IGA partnership looks like they haven't spent as much of their deposit as they did in the prior year, but we've got
100.
we've got 100 kids doing swim lessons this week. So we'll be transferring money.
We had
off-
50 last week.
Yeah, so it'll be 150 times 60, whatever that is, that will be transferring from the balance sheet to the profit and loss statement for April.
The swim lessons are full, there's a wait list.
No, not for our swim lessons, but for the school district second grade band.
Greg has nothing.
Okay. Jean, anything you want to say at this point, or do you want to give a report at the end of the? Anything you
About
want
the
to?
financial?
Mhm.
Well, you already touched on the one thing, transpose numbers, and another thing that was confusing was our deposits. We put more money in the bank than what I could find in QuickBooks, they didn't match up. So Courtney finally sorted that out, you can explain it much better than I.
Basically, when you enter money into QuickBooks at the end of the month. So at the end of February, half the week was in February and half the week was in March. And so you have to enter them separately. So it's almost like we made 4 deposits into QuickBooks, but it only shows 1 deposit in the bank. So, and then because Jean was looking at the March month end file, the February deposits didn't show on it. And so we couldn't find the February numbers in the March. And so that's what we found. It's great. This is what we want. This is what auditors want to see. Because what I did was I took some screenshots and I did a memo on it and I stuck it in that month end file with Jean's notes. And so when an auditor looks at that, they're going to say, oh, good. Somebody's keeping an eye on this executive director. We're making sure that everything is being done correctly.
Better check and
I'm
balance.
still nitpicking and asking the questions.
It's
I
good.
don't understand.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. The next report for financials is your detail of the general fund. And just a few things. I got an answer on property taxes. So I've been in 3 different budget committee meetings and everyone has a different reason that property taxes are coming in so much higher than they were last year, than anybody budgeted. So one reason that is accurate that the school district said is that there were a couple things that came off the enterprise zone that are now added to the tax rolls. So they were not being, they were not part of the assessed value. They were not being taxed. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but they were not being taxed last year.
Well, the money was going to the enterprise, so.
Oh, rather
now-
than going to
now
the-
It's coming back in and those funds would help pay down the bond levels.
So that's Daimler came on to
Yes.
the, but that, he said that's a drop in the bucket.
Okay.
So the real reason, and I was shocked by this, is that utilities are 25% of the taxable assessed value. And PGE put in $110 million at Round Butte. So it added $110 million to our taxable value. And so it's a 27% increase on the 25% of the value that utilities are.
And that utility roll is a wild card year after year. Some years it comes in up here and some years it doesn't. And again, that utility roll goes towards paying down those bond deficits so that we, the taxpayers, aren't paying 65 cents, we're only paying 61.
Okay.
So that's what he said. That was the reason. I was like, everybody's talking about it, but nobody has called our assessor to ask he said, you're the first person that's called me. I said, well, I'm on 3 budget committees, so I will share the information.
That would explain. Yeah. Right. You think taxpayer collects paying over the 3.
Yes.
Utility higher in a day coming off. I mean, it was big. It was millions.
Yeah, I want to say it was, what did he say? 1 point something million. 5 million?
He had a couple little M&E fees as well.
Yeah. So that's the answer on property taxes. Look at our annual and monthly membership budget to actual. We're 277% of budget. Our memberships are going gangbusters. It's been good. Merchandise went up quite a bit because we started selling bathing suits and everybody's buying them. So, and I'm buying them off of Swim Outlet on clearance. So it's been a good.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially with the kidlets and suits on hand.
Yeah, my daughter was very
I
excited to
would've
buy a new
thought that,
swimsuit.
And I just find it,
Somebody that's just here visiting for the weekend because they were here because of softball tournament and there's no place to buy bathing
there is nowhere else to
That's
get it.
true.
It's just one of those like, yeah, I just would have never thought.
Quite a few people have been
Yeah.
buying them.
I love it. And you got them for so cheap.
Yes.
That coat, never stuff out of them.
Yeah.
They sell the heck out of them.
Oh, I believe that.
So-
Yeah. That's just surprising when you go in there.
Just
and see stuff.
Jaleesa said that's awesome in the chat. Volunteer coaches credit. So historically, we have not shown our volunteer coaches credit on our as an expense or as a revenue. So what we're doing now is we are showing it as a reduction of revenue because we want to show the true cost of the
Yeah.
program. But instead of putting it in the revenue line, which is where we've had it the last few months, I moved it out and now it's down at the bottom because we want to show the total revenue we actually bring in. We don't want to show that it's less, but we do want to see what that volunteer coaches credit does. So that's been added as part of the profit and loss statement. So you can see that and where it's coming out. And so the total income was at 89% of budget. For expenses, we were at 96.8% of budget for personnel services. We've got some expenses that were higher than expected. We had our basketball site coordinators didn't submit their reimbursement for travel until March for their January, February. So that's part of why that is 228% of budget. We have one more payment with BRS in March. And so that's why that contractual services is a little bit higher because we had budgeted to finish making those payments back in January or February. Our Climate Tech annual fee hit this month, which was not originally budgeted. So that's why it looks like our licenses and dues went up, but that was already in the total budget for the year. And then we're trying to figure out if we've got a leak on Norco or if this is a fee increase thing, but it's much higher than it was last year. So we're working on figuring that out.
They list out consumption usage gallons, something to compare to like watts.
They do. It's over. I just look at the month to month and then the annual. And there's definitely either we have a leak or something changed. We can't tell what it is. So they just put monitoring equipment on it so that they can look at it without having to come here. And so we're waiting to hear back on what that tells them. Under admin contractual services, we had our Helion bill finally came in, that $1,300 for evaluating the property tax rate. Our active and bank fees and our merchant fees are higher than expected, and that's because our memberships are booming. So when our revenues go up in programming, our fees associated with taking credit cards and paying for ActiveNet also go up. And so that's our March month end, and then property taxes, the debt fund, just like the general fund, property taxes are more than what we budgeted, and they have been all year. And our interest on this particular part of our budget has been phenomenal because we've got almost $790,000 sitting in that account. So we're accruing like $3,200 of interest every month. So our payment is due by May 31st. And we're gonna wait as long as humanly possible in May to make that transfer. So we accrue that interest.
I sent you alternatives to Norco.
Thank you.
That's a really high, I think that's,
There's something,
I
yeah,
think, yeah.
thank you.
Jimmy also said to just send him like what, to email what the bill is to check against Keith's, because that's, he thinks that also we lease the tanks, because it's just a headache to purchase them, he said. But, he was just saying you could contact him about it and share the actual specifics.
I will do
But I
that.
just texted you the other alternative.
Thank you. Love it.
That's expensive. I'm really surprised that was a high and that much over the budget.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a lot of price increases.
Yeah. Overall, July 1, 2023 to March 31st, 2024, our income is at 107.8% of budget. Mostly because of property taxes, but also because of, I mean, memberships are almost at 100% of budget. We haven't been there since I started here. And then personnel services is at 95.2% of budget. And then materials and services, this is why we're proposing that budget adjustment, because we are over because of those legal and consulting fees related to the election. And let's see, lastly, this last report is a prior year comparison. So it shows July 23 to March 24 in the first column. And then the second column shows the same period last year. And so there's just some notes on here that identify why there's a difference between the years. And I think it's worth, I mean, to me, financials always tell a story. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them about the financials.
I am not seeing any questions.
Up, we are looking for a motion and approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Jaleesa, what was your vote?
I said aye.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, then next up, we are looking for a motion and approval of resolution 2024-10.
I so.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'll make a second.
Thank you, Jean. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Lisa. And that leaves no opposed. Next up, we have looking for a motion and approving the proposed MACRD org charts. Measures passing or not passing.
Do we need to just say to make with the amended? Or
With
no,
the,
with the amended thing? that
with
we
the
talked
addition
about?
of explanations of FTE. Yeah, I think that's worth saying.
With the addition, okay, also move with the additions of FTE explanation.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Jean. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? To know, Lynn and Jean, were you abstaining?
No, I.
And Jean? Are you, okay.
I thought we eyed it already.
It's right in my head.
Oh, unless I missed it. I didn't think, okay. Okay, next up is looking for a motion for the MACRD wage pay scale.
Yeah, I'll make the. Scale as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Lynn.
All second, I was waiting. To do this. Okay,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Jaleesa. Okay, motion passes. Next up, looking for a motion for approving an intergovernmental agreement with 509J School District. Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second?
List of stuff. I'll second it.
Thank you, Jean. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That leaves no opposed. Next up, we are looking for a motion to approve a facility use partner agreement with the Madras swim team.
And I'll make the motion that we approve that with those changes that were presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jaleesa. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Lisa, just for the record, can you confirm your vote, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
You're good. Thank you. Next up, we have looking for a motion for policy 2024-01, the registration policy.
I'll make a motion.
Thank
I'll
you, Lynn.
Second. the
Jean
registration
seconds.
policy.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Jaleesa. That passes as none are left to oppose. Next up is the new number 15, considering approval of an agreement with Jefferson County for a tax anticipation loan in the event that the May 2024 ballot measures do not pass.
So board members, I did meet with Jeff Rasmussen yesterday, and after reviewing the agreement that we have related to the up to $1 million loan, if the measures pass, he wanted to be sure that we had a second agreement that identified that we would pay back the tax anticipation loan this year. And so this loan agreement is the same one that we've done in prior years. There are a couple differences. One is that we are requesting $250,000, which is an increase over what we've done before. And the other piece is that the interest rate is 6%, which is double what it was last year. And so the total that we will pay for this tax anticipation loan with principal and interest is $257,500.
They doubled their interest rate.
Thanks LGIP for having a higher interest rate that we're also benefiting from, so.
Would anyone care to make a motion? Or are there any questions or discussion?
I don't have any questions. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jean. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jaleesa. That leaves no opposed. Next up, we have the executive director report.
Okay, let me get there in the packet.
There's more.
Yes, there's more. Okay, but this is the last for me. So what's going well? We've had second graders back in the water. They're so fun. And you can see how much they improve as they get through the week. So it's been really fun to have them back in the building. Historically, we've done these swim lessons in October, November, but this year, for whatever reason, 3 of the elementary schools wanted to wait until April. And so moving forward, Shauna's just going to give them the option of doing October, November, or April. And then wherever they fall, that's when we'll do them. We're also doing homeschool swim lessons and Madras Christian School, and I think that's it. We're also doing those right now too. So it's been really great for our swim instructors because instead of them coming in for 2 hours here and then coming back later they've had a pretty consistent schedule for the last couple of weeks, which is nice. I'm excited to share with you that I just signed an MOU with Redmond Proficiency Academy.
Oh, wow.
They are offering memberships paid for by the Academy for their students throughout the summer who live in Jefferson County. For students who live outside of Jefferson County, they're going to pay for their drop-ins. So this is if this pilot's successful, we may reach out to other schools, like homeschool, whether it's homeschools or alternative schools, like online schools that come out of Bend, that there's quite a few students in Jefferson County. But this was just kind of out of the blue. They asked how they could partner with us. And so now we
Did
have
it
an
say
MOU.
How many students that is? I was just curious, like, would be in that, do they share that?
They did not share
Jefferson
that.
County? Yeah, I was just curious.
They didn't
Really?
say.
Yeah.
So we
Wondering how-
did agree, we're gonna bill them,
Or
we're gonna bill them for the whole summer in September. Which is helpful for us from a cash flow perspective, because September and October are historically low revenue months, so I thought that worked out beautifully.
Jaleesa raised her hand.
Yes, Jaleesa.
How will you advertise that or get the word out for that? And when will that begin? I'm just curious because my programming with NASU, I will actually be going to RPA probably next year, so I'll be able to connect with our native students at RPA as well as Redmond High School, I believe NASU was requested as well. So next
Cool.
school year, I'll be able to connect with native students at those schools.
That's awesome. So the agreement starts June 1st. And they are responsible for communicating it to their families and students. So we don't have any responsibilities as it relates to marketing, because they wanted to be really clear with their families who's eligible for what, and that they have to live in Jefferson County to get the membership. I did tell them that if they've got folks that live outside of the county that come more than 3 times, over a month, that they're spending more money than they should, but that's okay. We'll see how it goes as the pilot and then probably reevaluate, because she said that they may consider doing it during the school year too, if this pilot works out well. So that's all good news. Wanted to show you some data around memberships, and I was thinking about Janelle when I did this because she's always asking about membership data.
Yeah, she needs to see that, and she's missing it.
But I want you to see that, so this is comparing prior years, July to June. And the red bar is July to April. And we are already beating all of our prior year numbers for all of our different membership options. So for youth, adult, whether they be monthly or annual, corporate is pretty flat because our only corporate memberships are with the fire department. They've got like 5 or 6 people that come on a regular basis. And then Yarrow apartments, when they have someone new move into an apartment, they get a 10 punch card. And then they pay for it. Those are our only corporate partners. The police department for the city of Madras did reach out and ask the cost for budgeting purposes. So they may be considering it for their staff. But I don't know if it made it into their budget. So that's that corporate membership is where the employer pays, we bill the employer for that membership. And then Fitness RX, even though we changed the model and now it's it's only St. Charles that's involved. It's showing that we were booming until January when we had to change that model. I think we're going to see next year that number is going to drop. But for now, I'm celebrating it as another increase. Ash and Optum Fitness are our new partners that have Silver and Fit, Active and Fit, Something Advantage. There's like 6 different programs that people are eligible for between these 2 different fitness conglomerate. I don't know what you call them. They're like a third party that connects you to all these different options. And then punch cards are booming too. So
you don't see that it's not necessarily like that Silver Fit program, it's just general memberships or.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Lots of new monthly memberships. Part of it too is, where it's comparable to prior years when snowbirds come back, April, May, we usually see a bump. We've had quite a few people returning who haven't been here for the winter. So that's been fun to see them too coming back. And then programming and enrollment updates, Abby's Pizza again, but also just wanted to show you that Open Gym Pickleball is popping. I don't know if you saw the Pioneer last week, but 110 people, 110 drop-ins, so it could be the same people every week, but still. And then same with Open Gym Basketball has been really popular as well. So kudos, Chris has been staffing that on Sundays, and so his days off now are Mondays and Tuesdays, so he gets his 2 days. And so he's been doing a great job. learning ActiveNet and taking money and doing some things that he hadn't done before, so. And we do have one person signed up for our lifeguard class in June already, and we've got a number of people who've applied to be employees, so we're hoping that
Good.
they successfully complete the course.
Yeah.
Because that's the piece that did not happen this last time. Any questions about programming and enrollment or the executive director update?
Is there age age thing for the floating green night? Or is it just anybody in the community?
Anybody can come to that.
Okay.
Can you ask Jalissa, I'm just curious to know if she feels like we're getting the word out in the Warm Springs community on the measures that are coming on the ballot.
Jaleesa, did you hear Jean's question?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Do you feel like the word is getting out in Warm Springs about the May election? Is what Jean wondered.
Pertaining to the map.
Yeah, there's signs and
Oh, we lost you.
Oh, let's see who she's talking to.
hello? Hello?
Yep, now we got you.
Sorry. There's signs and then I wanted to get the flyer for the open house, and then also I don't know if you were gonna plan to try to do any like PSAs or the Warm Springs program with KWSO or Spilliai.
We have provided information only, but I will follow up with the PAC when I'm not on the clock. On those two things. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then I did request, I've emailed a few times to try and get on tribal council's agenda and have not heard back, have not been successful. So if you know of any way to present to tribal council sometime in the next few weeks, I think that would be good too, but I haven't heard back.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that from a couple of different people. Was that with the ST?
Yes.
Put that through the ST. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else for Courtney, then next up, board member highlights.
I'm ready for this one.
All right, Jean.
Yeah. First of all, Lynn, thank you for the Valentine's gift card you gave it to me. Yeah, maybe a little fail. Hopefully not. The lips are very tart. So this morning, I had a very busy day today. This morning, I started off by just coming up here to visit because it was going to be swim lessons and these sheriff's deputies from all around the state of Oregon in the pool during their trainings. Very interesting. But I think my highlight of the day was taking the time to go to Redmond to visit Sam, or meet Sam, I should say, and see what this whole conference was about, this breaking barriers. Really enjoyed that. So wanted to attend some soccer games or something, but I went on the website and I couldn't find when they're being held.
Well, we don't do soccer in the spring. That's Jefferson County Youth Soccer Association. We do flag football and it's Saturdays. This is the third Saturday in 2 days. But the games start at 9 and I think the last one starts at noon.
So right now, the only thing I'm going is Saturday's flag football.
Yes.
9:50.
Yep.
With donuts available.
Yeah, it's like come this Saturday, you'll get donuts and a football game.
At Juniper Hills.
Yes.
Not having any kiddos in any of the. I thought when it might be.
Yeah.
So who do you say does soccer this time of year?
It's Jefferson County Youth Soccer Association.
They have-
Yep. And also the Little League, they have Little League happening. So spring isn't like our busiest season, but we still have 116 kids signed up for football. Yeah.
But I think it's well taken that it might be good to have something that says when, you know, the time of when the games are and the dates or something. Yeah.
I have a highlight. It was putting up signs with Janelle, and I know she always has gotten really into the signs, and so, and I also made my husband come. I don't know if it was a highlight for him, but, we did it and it was super fun, and it just was, it felt a little weird doing it to me because, you know, I not really been involved in the elections other than the last time. And so it just felt like seeing Janelle's excitement to just, and all the board members, like it just made me feel really happy to be in the company of the board members and the staff of just I would say the persistence and the commitment that everyone shows to in all their own ways, on staff and board. Like, I feel like it's very equal, or very people all support in their own ways and have their excitement about own things. And so I just felt like, yeah, it was to me a moment of that. And it was just, you know, Janelle can load pick up with those signs and with all the equipment. She even stockpiles it behind her house, on the side of a shed, and her husband there's a whole system legit size. And I was just like, wow. And it was really fun, and we laughed a lot, so.
And Kenyon
then
took
I
a
see all of
great
them.
video.
Oh, it was
in
video, not a
slow
picture.
in slow motion.
Oh.
Have you not seen it?
She didn't.
It's fantastic.
I thought she was taking a picture.
Of them putting the sign in and laughing hysterically through the way, but it's all in slow-mo. It's great.
Yeah, and I thought of how many times Janelle's done that, and you know, she will ask anyone to put up a sign, and so. And those aren't my strengths, but I was happy to go along, and it's just made me think of how everyone brings their own thing of but the persistence is, I think, you know, really nice to see at this time, especially before the election. That's it.
Jaleesa.
I can't tell if she's talking.
Oh, I think for me, I do have a friend that just moved to Madras, and she's always bragging about the MAC. She loves swimming. She goes up there, and she's always telling me about how great of a time she has. And I've been meaning to go and meet her there, and I haven't had the time to go up there, but yeah, she's always happy to be at the MAC and be in the pool, and so that's always really exciting.
I think my highlight was going with Courtney to the senior center for lunch last week. It was really nice chatting with people. And then I also was able to hijack some of the play reception line and talk to people about the ballot fishers. You know, hey, what can you do? So did that. My upcoming highlight is going to be I'm getting out of my 6 a.m. meetings going forward effective May 1st. So I'll be able to come do Lapsum again. So very excited about that for many reasons, but also for being able to do Lapsum again. Yes. Okay. Just want to give one more shout out for budget committee orientation Thursday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. Prior to that, we are having the open house at 4 p.m. We are hosting coffee cuppers on May 10th at 8 a.m. And then May 22nd, we have the budget committee and a regular board meeting. Other than that,
I just had on that, I sent to you, Courtney, that I couldn't come to that budget committee, so I don't know if other people need to come, because I don't know if I was supposed to be a board member that was.
It's a work session, so it's okay if we don't have quorum.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're good.
I didn't know, okay. I sorry to miss that, and the open house, because I'm on a work trip. Totally go to both. Did you say the second?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would let you know too, Courtney. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I will be I'll be out of town too during the
Yep.
open house.
Yep.
Okay, if there's nothing else for the group, then we will adjourn at 7:50. That's pretty dang good considering how thick this agenda was. Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks Greg. Thanks Jaleesa.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good night.